Wake up with the morning light, mountain air, a chillin' bite. Got my pack, I'm good to go.
We continue the exciting true-life Alaskan adventure story of Norman and Sylvia Wilkins. If you missed any earlier episodes, please be sure to go back and enjoy them. The Alaska Diaries is a narrated true story based on first-hand journal account from 1979 through the 80s and 90s, following one couple's journey to build a life in the Alaskan wilderness. Told in immersive, audiobook-style episodes, this series brings you into the mud, the cold, the danger, and the determination it takes to keep going. Subscribe and follow the journey if you enjoy true survival stories, wilderness adventure, and real-life grit. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next chapter. New episodes premiere weekly. The Alaska Diaries, 10,000 Days. Episode 8, A Summer of Fireworks, Fossils, Hunting, and Fishwheels. Part 1, A Land That Watches Back. There are summers in Alaska that feel like a reward, and then there are summers that feel like a test. The summer of 1980, I didn't know at the time, but it was both. You don't think in those terms when you're living it. You just wake up, look outside, and get on with what needs doing. July 3rd started early. That soft kind of early where the light is already pushing through, but the world hasn't quite found its voice yet. Sylvia was inside, getting coffee going, and I stepped outside for a moment before we left. I remember standing there listening. Not silence, not really. More like the land holding its breath. We headed out to a slide area to look for fossils. A place where the earth had torn open long ago and exposed something older than anything we'd ever know. That's what draws you in, the idea that time has left something behind for you to find. We didn't have much luck. A few fragments that might have been something, might not. But what we did find were signs of more recent life. Bare tracks, big ones, fresh enough that you didn't need to say it out loud, and scattered around, caribou horns and bones. I picked one up and turned it in my hands. Worn smooth, light. Funny thing, I said more to myself than anyone. You go looking for something millions of years old, and it's the last few weeks that speak the loudest. We headed back that afternoon without much to carry. But you don't always come back empty just because your hands are. Part 2, Fireworks in a Sky That Won't Go Dark. The next day was the 4th of July, and out there, that meant something a little different. Bob Schmidt came by with fish and moose meat. Even brought some freezer-burned scraps for the dogs. Before long, we had ourselves a spread. Big breakfast. Coffee poured steady. People gathered close, talking over each other like they hadn't seen another soul in months. Maybe we hadn't. There's a kind of appreciation that comes from that. Someone brought out a guitar later. The singing started, some of it good, some of it not, but it didn't matter. It carried, out across the open. And then the fireworks. Now that's something you don't forget. Fireworks in a place where the sky doesn't really go dark. They bloom differently, hang there longer. Like the day itself is reluctant to let go. Sylvia stood next to me, watching. Strange place for fireworks, she said. I thought about that for a moment. Maybe the right place, I told her. Out here, you feel what it means. Freedom isn't something abstract when you're living that far out. It's real. It's responsibility. It's consequence. We stayed out late, or what passes for late. For a few hours, things felt easy. But Alaska doesn't hold on to easy. Not for long. Part 3, Tracks, Choices, and the Weight of Them. July 5th, Dick and I went down along the Nelchina River, walking the sandbars, looking for fossils again. We found a few this time, enough to say the trip wasn't wasted. But that's not what stayed with me. It was the tracks. 13 bears. We counted them. Different sizes, different directions, all crossing that same stretch of sand. Dick crouched down low, running his hand just above one of the prints. That's a lot of bear, he said. It is, I answered. It means we're walking through something they use regular. We didn't rush after that. Didn't need to. You move different when you know you're not the only one there. Later that day, I shot a porcupine near camp. That's not something I take lightly. Never have. But porcupines coming close, and the dogs don't know any better. They'll go right after one and end up with a face full of quills. I've seen what that does. So you make the call. I knelt there afterward for a moment. They don't mean harm, I said quietly. But neither do the dogs. That's something people don't always understand about this life. It isn't clean, but it is honest. Part 4. When things go sideways. By the end of July, we'd settled into a rhythm again. Work, travel, checking areas, fixing what needed fixing. Then came July 30th. We left the lodge around 8 that morning, heading up toward the mountain in the swamp buggy. The ground was bad, wet, uneven, full of hummocks that shift under you. I had to winch out once before we gone very far. Around 11:30, we hit another stretch. I was easing through it when it happened. A sharp crack, loud enough to feel. The anti-roll bolt sheared clean through. Just like that. No warning. The cab dropped hard to the left, right into the swamp. Everything shifted at once. The fellow with me grabbed onto the door frame, hanging there to keep from coming down on top of me. Hold on, I told him. Truth is, there wasn't much else to do. We sat there a second, maybe two, felt longer. Then I said, we're getting out. We worked the door open and climbed out into the muck. That ground pulls at you, doesn't want to let go. But we got clear, both of us standing there, breathing hard. Unhurt, I turned and looked at the buggy, laid over on its side. Helpless. That's a discouraging sight. You put a lot of trust in your equipment out there, and then something small gives way, and you're reminded how little it takes. Funny thing, I said after a minute. You trust a machine right up until it reminds you it's just parts. It took 2 days to put that right. 2 days and a caterpillar. We went back up, pulled that buggy upright, replaced the shear bolt, and worked it back down to where it belonged. Slow, careful work, the kind that wears on your patience. But when it was standing again, I felt something settle. Not confidence, respect. Part 5, the work that feeds winter. August didn't slow down. If anything, it picked up. We made a trip out toward Talk with Wyatt, following up on Talk of Gold. Stopped along the way, talked to folks who knew the country. Men who'd spent years reading the land. You learn to listen to people like that. We checked maps at the Bureau of Land Management. Walked creeks, crossed rivers. Found not much. That's the truth of it. Gold has a way of staying just out of reach. You chase it long enough, you start to understand what it's really costing you. Back home, the work turns serious. Fishing, preparing, putting things up for winter. We went to Mindeltna Creek and caught salmon. 21 day, 9 the next. Those fish didn't sit long. Sylvia had them cleaned and into jars that same night. 9 fish made 11 quarts. I watched her working, steady as ever. She held 1 jar up to the light. This is winter, she said. She was right. Winter starts long before the snow. There were moments that broke the seriousness. One afternoon, Sylvia was picking blueberries across the highway, down near the base of Slide Mountain. Bent over, focused, didn't hear anything, didn't see anything, until she felt something behind her. She froze, thought it was a bear, turned around, and there was a lodge dog, named Bear. I don't think I've ever heard her laugh like that. We spent a day with the Billmans, helping butcher chickens. 11 of them. Sylvia took charge, showed them how to do it right. Clean, efficient, respectful. I stood back for a bit, watching. You can tell a lot about people, I said to Dan, by how they handle the things that feed them. He nodded, didn't need to say much. Then came the fish wheel, set along the river near Copper Center. We got it going, stepped away for a bit. When we came back, there were fish already in it. Red salmon, and 1 big king, over 50 inches. By morning, we had 47 fish. 47. We worked steady, filleting, hauling, canning. Coffee cups balanced wherever they'd sit. Talking while we worked. That's a good kind of tired. The kind that means something. Part 6, the long hunt and the white-tailed wolf. Late August, Mike and I headed out. 3 weeks planned. Hunting, prospecting, living out in it. We saw a caribou early on. Could have taken it. Easy. I didn't. Mike looked at me. We might not see another, he said. Maybe, I told him. But we didn't come out here just for the first chance. There's more to it than that. A couple days in, we climbed into a stretch of mountain made of rotten rock. Loose, unstable, the kind that holds together just enough to let you get into trouble. We made it up to the shoulder and sat down to rest. That's when we saw him. A wolf. Gray. Moving steady. But what caught my eye was his tail. White-tipped. Like a fox. We watched him for a long time. He circled, cautious, then moved toward a caribou that a bear had killed. Fed quick, always looking around, never relaxed. After a while, he grabbed the antlers and dragged them off. Didn't take everything, just enough. That's how it works out here, I said quietly. You take what you can, and you don't forget it wasn't really yours. That same day, we came up against a chute of loose rock. Steep, unforgiving, no good way around it. Mike shook his head. That's bad. It is, I said, but I don't see better. I stepped out first. Long strides, sliding with every step. You don't stop. If you stop, you lose it. Made it down to a bulge. Paused, looked it over, then kept going. Mike took his time coming after me. When he got down, he just stood there a minute. I don't want to do that again. I nodded. Let's not need to. We dredged along McDougal Creek. Found some gold. Not much. Mixed in with darker material. Iron, most likely. Hard to separate. Hard to make worthwhile. That's the way of it. We saw that wolf again the next day. Same white-tipped tail. Still hunting. Still moving north. Toward the end of the month, things started to wear. I broke a wheel on the swamp buggy near Flat Creek. Mike headed out to get a welder. Charlie came in by plane. Good to see him. That kind of thing matters more out there than it does anywhere else. Charlie and I went out hunting while Mike was gone. Saw 3 caribou. Didn't take any. Sometimes it just isn't the moment. That evening, I sat outside camp, looking out over the country we'd crossed. Miles of it. Hard ground. Honest ground. Charlie was nearby, quiet. I found myself speaking. You come out here thinking you'll conquer something. I let that sit a moment. But all you really do is learn how small you are. He looked over at me. Worth it. I looked out across that land. Everything it had taken to stand there. Everything it had given and not given. And I nodded. Every bit of it. Because Alaska doesn't give you what you expect. It gives you what you earn. And sometimes, what you survive. This concludes episode 8. If you are enjoying the story and would like the books this story is based on, go to 10,000daysinalaska.com for more info. Episode 9 will air next Saturday at 7 a.m. Alaska time. And for all you Midwesterners watching and listening, that means 10 a.m. Central Daylight Time. Let's take a brief step back to last year, when Norman built this small plywood cabin for shelter when Sylvia and he first got to Alaska. He didn't have any formal plans or blueprints at the time, just an idea of what he wanted and the basic skills to make it happen. We hope this is useful to you and will help guide you to make your own plans. Building the plywood cabin. The build begins without ceremony. There's no blueprint spread across a table, no long list of materials, just a rough idea, a few willing hands, and the understanding that whatever goes up here has to stand against the cold, and do it soon. The footprint is simple, 12 feet by 16, large enough for a stove, a couple of bunks, and a narrow path between them. Small enough to build quickly before the weather turns. They start with the floor. A rectangular frame is laid out using basic lumber. Nothing fancy, just what's on hand. The corners are squared by eye and experience more than measurement, then nailed together solid. Cross joists go in next, spaced evenly to carry weight and keep the floor from sagging under winter loads. Once the frame is together, they do something that might seem unusual. They flip it over. Out here, you don't always build in the proper order. You build in the order that works. With the frame upside down and resting on skids, the open cavities are exposed. That's where the insulation goes. Whatever material is available, fiberglass, scrap, anything that traps air, is packed in tight. No gaps, no wasted space. Heat is too precious to lose through the floor. Then a sheet of plywood is nailed across the underside, sealing everything in. It's not elegant, but it's effective. The cold won't come up through that floor easily now. Once it's secured, the whole structure is rolled and levered back over onto its skids. That floor, solid, insulated, and already carrying its weight, becomes the foundation. From there, the walls go up quickly. Each wall is framed flat on the floor, then lifted into place. 8 feet high, tall enough to stand comfortably, but not so tall that it wastes heat. Studs are spaced simply and nailed fast. There's no time for perfection here, only for strength. Openings are left for a door and a couple of small windows. Light matters, even in winter. As each wall is raised, it's braced in place until the next one joins it. Soon the four sides are standing together, forming a box, tight, square enough, and already beginning to feel like shelter. Then comes a roof. A ridge beam runs the length of the cabin, supported at each end. Rafters are cut and set one by one, leaning inward to form a simple pitched roof. The angle is just enough to shed snow, which will come heavy in the months ahead. Plywood goes up over the rafters, nailed down in steady rhythm. Each sheet adds strength, tying the structure together. There's no wasted motion now. By this point, everyone knows what needs to be done. Somewhere along the way, a stovepipe is fitted through the roof. That detail matters more than almost anything else. Without heat, none of this holds. By the end, the shape is unmistakable. A small cabin, plain plywood walls, a door, a window, a pipe reaching up into cold air. It isn't pretty. It isn't meant to be, but it stands. And in a place where winter doesn't forgive mistakes, that's enough.